lovely people. If you're a beginner at knitting, have you ever wondered how we create shape into something that we're knitting flat? That's what we're going to be looking at this month in our technique video. And if you haven't met me before, my name is Kitten. I'm from the Kitten and The Goat in Kendal, and what I do is help beginner knitters understand how to do the stitches, the techniques, make it nice and simple. So if you're a beginner knitter, subscribe, follow me, check out the website, there's all sorts of free resources, and let me see if I can explain to you a little bit about how we create shape on something that's flat.
Down a little alley in the heart of Kendal town is a tiny independent yarn shop. Welcome to the wonderful world of the Kitten and the Goat.
Now, to create shape in things, you need to increase stitches, just about see there, so that it pushes the work out. The more stitches you increase, the frequency of how you increase it, the higher up, the more padded effect you get. And where you put them gives you shape. So we'll have a look at how to increase stitches, and then I'll talk you through some of the effects. There are two ways to increase stitches. Personally, I like to knit the first stitch because it makes the row neater. Doesn't always matter so much when you're shaping for toys, but it does when you're doing the edge of a shawl or a sleeve or something. So you have got, it's called, the pattern will say increase one. We call it knit into the front, knit into the back, simply because it's so much more descriptive. You knit into the front, then you take the point round. I like to pull it through so that you get a good stitch. You don't get a tight stitch, and you knit into the back. We've made 2 stitches out of that. We'll just knit a couple. We'll show you again. It'll tell you in the pattern how many to do. You knit into the front just like normal, but don't scrabble about. Make sure you get a good stitch. Let the needle show the yarn what size to make the stitch, otherwise your knitting gets too tight. That's how you get in a pickle and you get too tight. Then come round and knit into the back. Okay, do a couple. Knit into the front, bring it out, take it round, and you're going in there. Knit into the back. That is knit front back. In some patterns you will see it called increase. If it's a commercial pattern, it will have a key at the top what increase means. The other one is make a stitch. The pattern will say make a stitch. And to make a stitch is what is sometimes called up, one up in more modern patterns. You put your point of your needle in there and you increase it. You don't use this a lot in toy making because you're not creating the bulk. If you knit into the front and the back, you're creating a lot of bulk in one stitch and it pushes it round that tiny bit extra. When you're making a stitch, you're just picking up like that and you get a gap. Some people like to turn the stitch. You pick it up and you turn it round so that you're knitting in that way. As you can tell, I don't like to do that. Or you can do it the other way. Pick it up. If you're doing it that way, if you look back at the video where we discussed the front and the back of the stitch, you would be knitting into the back to turn the stitch round to create it. I quite like this pattern. I use it a lot on the edge of the dog jumpers, the bottom edge where I'm shaping around the bottom. I quite like it. It makes quite a nice pattern. So that's your two different ways of increasing a stitch. Now we're going to have a look and show the effect of how many stitches you put in between your increases to get your different shapes. I'll go and get some toys out. The shape we looked at earlier, it's actually the body of a snowman, but you have to increase pretty quickly at the bottom to get a flat base for him to sit on. So you've increased in every stitch on the first row, in every other stitch on the second row, in probably every third stitch on the next row. That gives you a sudden expansion. Once you want to slow it down, so we go more subtly up the sides, you'll have an increase row, and then you'll have a row, in this case it'll be a purl, a row of plain knitting, so that it puts a gap between the increase and the next increase. So it spreads the increases out so you go up more gradually. And as you come up here, you're working more stitches. That's an increase line, you see, and that's an increase line. You get that nice round shape for his bottom. Here, dog hairs everywhere. Just about see. This is where we're decreasing, this is where we're decreasing. Decreasing is knit two together. There are various faffy bits you can do on the side of the sleeves to make them match. But basically it's work two together. So if you work two together and then you work 3 rows, and then you work two together and you work 3 rows, you get a much more subtle shape around the corner. So that goes up really quickly for his base, shapes out for underneath, and then comes in very slowly. And then you're probably down to, if you knit 2 together, I'd pull it in tight for his neck. And then we're going, increasing just a little bit out, and then a sudden increase to shape down for the top of his head. Here's a tip for you. Don't run out of one yarn and then start in another yarn when you haven't got a good light in the dark, because the snowman is cream and the top of his head is white, because it looked the same in the dark. And there you go. That's just a little aside tip for you. You can see at the top, this comes in really tight, sudden, to give you a good grip on his head. This one, this is a Christmas bauble we made. You can see how that's made a pattern. This is picking up one, so you get that spiral pattern round it. And you've got a long, slow increase here. And then you've got a quick knit 2 together at the bottom. The only bit that is actually straight on this is the pattern band. You've got a long, slow increase to get your shape. I think it was every 3rd row. And then you've got your quick increase, probably every other row, to pull it down into its little dumpling shape. There we go. I hope that's given you some insight into what shaping does, why it does it. and how you can achieve these things. I feel if you've got all this background knowledge, you can tweak things to make them bigger, to make them do what you want them to do. You could have put that on there and had, you know, the same each end for one of those big long ones. If you know why it works, you can turn things around. So just let me know if there's any queries, and that is how shaping works. That's it for our technique video this month. I hope it was some use to you. We're a small independent knitting shop in Kendal. If you want to visit, we have a proper website and we specialise in helping beginner knitters. I'm a very experienced knitter, and I put out a free pattern video and a technique video every month. If you want to be on the email list to get your free pattern, Kitten and the Goat, Kendal, I'll put a link down below in the thing. Please do subscribe, tick the like box, it all helps the numbers, everything helps. We haven't hit our magic number yet, but I'm looking to hit the magic number this year. We've changed the routine slightly this year. The first Friday of the month you get your free pattern. The second Friday of the month there isn't a video, but we do a blanket club on the website and you get a square to knit for your blanket. And then the third Friday of the month is the technique pattern. So if you want to get your free patterns, be on the email list. If you've got any ideas or techniques or anything you want explained, drop me a line and we'll see what we can include. See you later.